following Jeanie Buss and the Buss family having sold the Lakers to Mark Walter, selling their majority stake, now becoming minority owners in the Lakers, having roughly an 18% stake left in the team, selling it to Mark Walter, who now becomes the majority owner and therefore controlling owner and overall controlling person of the Los Angeles Lakers. There are going to be some very real changes made to how they operate. Everything in regard to how many people they employ, and especially in the front office, we've heard about that. How much money they plan to spend. No, maybe not in regard to luxury tax, and we'll talk about that more in a bit, but simply about the money they spend and where they all put it toward, and a whole lot more after that. So we'll talk about what should be expected to change, what reports are already saying about that, and what might be changing very soon with their team and how they operate, and what you can and cannot look forward to in the near future. And well, to begin, I think we gotta dispel the current false narrative that's been floating around, with many fans saying that Jeanie Buss and the entire Buss family have been cheap and have not been willing to pay the luxury tax, which is simply not true. I mean, believe it or not, the Lakers have paid the luxury tax more than any other team in NBA history. Dating back to 2001, they have paid the luxury tax in 14 total years, amounting to well over $200 million and nearly $300 million at that. And again, have paid it more than any other team, albeit not the most total luxury tax. They're still top 3 in that, and have definitely been more than willing to pay it. So that's definitely not been true. Now I know a good chunk of fans don't really care about the salary cap or the new CBA collective bargaining agreement for that fact, but if you're going to say that and push that narrative, then you kind of have to understand it and why that won't be changing either. Even under Mark Walter, who has a net worth of anything from 10 billion all the way up to maybe 100 billion, we really don't know for sure. And between himself and their entire ownership group, they definitely have a lot of money to spend. However, unlike baseball, if you're not aware, they do own the LA Dodgers and have a lot more freedom to spend in baseball. The NBA actually has a real salary cap and some major financial penalties that come with crossing it. Again, you might not care about the CBA or the salary cap for that fact, but if you cross it and the first apron and second apron that come with the new CBA, there are some major penalties that your team will face. I mean, simply talking about the first apron, for example, which is a payroll amount exceeding roughly $195 million this NBA season, and the Lakers are very close to it, then your team will face the following penalties. Number 1, not allowed to acquire a player in a sign and trade. Number 2, not allowed to use a trade exception. Number 3, not being allowed to take back money through a trade. Number 4, not allowed to sign a buyout market player that previously made more than the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. And then for the second apron, every penalty I just listed, plus a few more. On top of those, then you're not allowed to send out cash through a trade, neither in regard to simply incentivizing a team to make a trade or then buying a draft pick. You can't do that. Then for number 2, you can't sign and trade your own free agent. So not only can you not sign and trade a player and actually receive them, but you can't even make a sign and trade in general, neither to receive or send away a player. Then after that, you can use either the non-taxpayer mid-level exception or the taxpayer mid-level exception, which are currently the 2 biggest contracts that a team like the Lakers, over the first apron, currently have to offer. And then last but not least, your first round draft pick that's 7 years in the future cannot be traded, which really hampers the team via trade and the trade assets they have to deal with. So all of that put together, that's not a place you want to be. The Lakers simply won't be spending more money and benefiting from it, from Mark Walter having a higher net worth compared to Jeanie Buss. That's not something they will do, or even should do for that fact. And if you don't agree, then you simply don't understand the NBA salary cap or CBA. But apart from the luxury tax and the money spending that will come with that, there actually will be actual changes here. Everything again in regard to team management, different roles and adding more roles to their team, actually adding different divisions to their team that they didn't have prior, and simply about money spending apart from luxury tax and salary cap related stuff, there will be plenty of changes. And for change number 1, simply pointing to the power dynamic here. I mean, previously it had been Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss, and that was pretty much it at the tip top of it. Jeanie Buss kind of making the final say on everything, giving her word, and that word kind of being final on everything. But that's not going to be the case anymore. Yes, she will be with the team going forward, being their quote-unquote team governor, and unlike Mark Cuban with the Mavericks, that actually is in writing, per a report from ESPN, saying that she actually has it in writing and that she will be their governor for the quote-unquote foreseeable future.
staying on as the governor. We saw how that, I guess, kind of worked out for Mark Cuban. What do you think that means sort of to the average Lakers fan in terms of what the presence of Jeannie is going to be after this landmark, announcement?
I think this was Mark Walter's idea for her to stay on. In getting to know Jeannie over the last 4 years and understanding how important she is to the brand, because the reason this franchise went for $10 billion, it's not because an NBA team is really worth $10 billion. They don't even own their building. It's right. The brand. I think Jeannie Buss understands the Laker brand better than anybody. I think he sees how important she is in running and keeping that brand alive. And also how she runs the business, right? Also how she runs the franchise. And so it was his idea for her to stay on. And it's in writing. Mark Cuban did not get his role in writing. Jeannie Buss is in writing. That's part of the deal. So she's staying on for the foreseeable future to run the team. And so I think it's interesting. There's going to be a great continuity in the transfer of this ownership. And I think it'll be a lot like how Mark Walter took over the Dodgers. He kept Ned Coletti, who was the general manager at the time. I think Don Mattingly was the manager at the time. He kept a lot of the long-term staffers. Like, everybody was sort of in a trial period. He was observing everyone. And I think Jeannie's going to be in this role where she's making a lot of decisions about who stays in consultation with Mark, but he really values her.
Now, I don't have a gigantic problem with that. I think with the way that things are and how familiar they are with the team, unlike Mark Walter and the ownership group that he'll be bringing in, it should be kind of good to transition between them, kind of having Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka obviously remain in their current role, but then slowly but surely adding more people around them and kind of changing up that power dynamic, like I said again. I mean, no matter what way you look at it, Mark Walter is definitely going to spread out power and add more people to it. It's not simply going to be Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka anymore at the top. It's likely going to be more assistant general managers, more advisors, everyone from a guy like Lon Rosen, for example, who happens to be the executive vice president of the LA Dodgers. Per Dave McMenamin of ESPN, he will likely be brought in as an advisor or some kind of office management within their team. And then others say that Magic Johnson, for example, might return as an advisor. Not sure I'm a big fan of that one, but simply another example to point to. And simply put, they're going to be more experienced people giving input at the very top of their front office, which in my opinion is a good thing for them. Much like the LA Dodgers do it, they have a whole bunch of people kind of calling the shots and not simply one or two guys, or simply one person having the final say. They have multiple of them. Again, they are currently owned by Mark Walter and his current ownership group, so if we're pointing to how they operate and with the way that they kind of do things, they have a bunch of people at the top. Yes, they obviously have a general manager and he does a bulk of that work, but it's not simply one or two people making the final shot. It's an entire group, and a pretty large one at that. And they kind of go off that power dynamic for another change here, and according to reports and another one from Dave McMenamin, they will be expanding the front office, saying that right now they have a very limited front office setup, which I do happen to agree with. As of right now, they obviously have Jeannie Buss at the top, being their controlling owner and current president, her having the final say again on pretty much everything, then kind of her second in command or second in line being Rob Pelinka, being both their general manager and president of basketball operations, again kind of their second in line after Jeannie Buss. Then after him we got Tim Harris, their current president of business operations, so not a whole lot to do with their actual team and the way they change up their team, but he is on it too. Then we got Kurt and Linda Rambis kind of being advisors and simply friends to Jeannie Buss, not really having a direct role per se. Linda is given the title of Executive Director of Special Operations. No idea what that actually means, and again, kind of simply a friend to Jeannie Buss. Then with Kurt Rambis being their senior basketball advisor, again simply giving inputs here and there, but not a huge role or a very defined role at that. Then we got Jesse Buss being their director of scouting, also being given the title of assistant general manager. And then finally we got Joey Buss, given the title of co-owner of the Lakers, also being the president of the South Bay Lakers, and then their vice president of research and analytics for the LA Lakers. And that kind of rounds it out for them. So again, they definitely have a pretty small team, and especially for a gigantic franchise like the Los Angeles Lakers, I mean, having pretty much 4 or 5 people doing a bulk of the work, at least being given the title and the bulk of the work that's given to that title, between Rob Pelinka, him really doing more than anything else in my opinion, him kind of being the guy we always point to, and again, because they're a small team, then having Tim Harris, Jesse Buss, and then I guess Jeanie for the final say and everything, that's kind of the majority of their current team. And like I said, that definitely will be expanding. I think Mark Walter will definitely add a lot more to the top of that. More advisors again, more assistant GMs, simply more team positions in general. He will be adding to that. I mean, other teams had multiple assistant GMs, for example. The Celtics are one of them. They have 3 that I could find. Other teams have subdivisions of every category. Like I said, with their scouting department and player personnel group, they don't really have a subdivision for it. And yes, they don't even have a real scouting department. And then for their entire player personnel team, that's not really a defined thing they have either. After that point, they pretty much have the coaching staff, and that's pretty much it. So again, now with Mark Walter, he's going to add more to that, adding more name positions, more titles, more divisions, more subdivisions, more people at the top of it to help him with stuff, and he definitely will spend the money to get that, and all the people around him that will help the team out, that's going to be very different. And in my opinion, that's probably one of, if not the best thing that will come with Mark Walter, and probably one of the quickest too. As shown by the LA Dodgers and the way they operate, they're definitely going to bring in more people knowledgeable with that, everything in regard to adding more titles and divisions to their team again, more people smart financially and business wise. That's going to look a whole lot different, and definitely for the better again in my opinion too. But apart from the financial talk and adding or bringing in more people, simply about their decision making going forward, I think it's going to be a whole lot more aggressive. I mean, say what you will about Jeanie Buss and Rob Pelinka, I don't think they have been that bad, but you definitely can say they have been a bit passive, especially for one of the biggest markets of any sports team if anything. And then one with LeBron James, that's obviously a pretty passive approach with what they've done. Obviously they've made some big trades and some big moves, but maybe not as many as the fan base would like, or as LeBron would like, or I guess even as Mark Walter would like, for example. And if the LA Dodgers are any indication, they are not going to be very patient. Again, keep in mind that doesn't mean spending more money here. The NBA and MLB are very different, especially when it comes to the salary cap and trade rules and obligations. That might not be as different, but simply about their decision making, with trades, signings, and even within their own front office, they're going to be a whole lot more aggressive. Hiring or firing people after not doing well, that's going to look a whole lot different, which could put everyone in regard to Luka Doncic, Rob Pelinka, everyone at the very top of their current team, in jeopardy for their job here. Again, maybe not as much Luka Doncic, but more building around him per se, adding different players via trade. They're not going to be afraid to do that, and probably a whole lot quicker to pull the trigger, which could either be bad or good. That's up in the air, I guess. And simply not going to be very patient with team building. I mean, young talent might not be given much time, likely a bigger emphasis put on proven players rather than draft picks, for example. As shown again by the LA Dodgers, that's kind of the way they operate and what they go after. So that might be something to factor in here as well. Overall, being more aggressive, whether you're talking about trades, signings, draft, their own front office, and hiring or firing people, that likely will be turned in a more passive to now aggressive approach. And well, overall here, the Lakers are definitely going to look different. It might take a few years, again with Jeanie Buss remaining the governor, Mark Walter and his new team coming in and slowly but surely changing things up, but there eventually will be real change and a noticeable difference to the way their team operates, which I'm very excited to watch play out. And well, with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the reports about what the new management might do with the team, the way they might look to operate and change things up going forward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.